everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So, apologies for the sound the other day. I don't know what happened. Technical difficulties, but hopefully this going forward will be fine. I just forgot to do something somewhere. I didn't connect something. What a bad day. Anyways, so I hope you're doing well. And today I had another aha moment like I did when I came across the article of Megan's lawyer calling Samantha absurd, and then in Vanity Fair years ago, Samantha calling Megan absurd, and said, I've had another aha moment, and it concerns Prince Harry and his book and why he wrote it, the real reason why he wrote it. So, first, I'm going to start with this clip from the body language. What are they? Eric Hunley. He was recommended by, I believe, Murky Meg. And this video is very good. I'd watch it if you haven't, even though as boring as Harry is, some very interesting parts here if you're into body language. So I'm just going to play this short clip.
And what people have realized now through the Netflix documentary and numerous stories coming out over the years is that that was just a motto.
Okay, so he does.
Let me start again here, sorry.
At the moment, this is his
family, and the idea that someone in the family is going to tell the world all the family arguments and secrets would be. So how do you justify the level of disclosure that is in this book?
Well, there's been which I suppose lots of people know now, there was a motto, a family motto of never complain, never explain. And what people have realized now through the Netflix documentary and numerous stories coming out over the years is that that was just a motto.
Okay, so he doesn't like that motto.
Oh, he certainly doesn't, not at all. In fact, you can see this double twitch of contempt. It's very rare you see it, but I think it happens twice in this entire interview. So you've not just got that one kind of one-sided contemptuous twitch of his mouth, but two in one shot, as it were, when he talks about that. This motto, I think you will find, is something that has been a thing to shut conversation down over the years. And when he says it's a family motto, I think he's so sick of hearing it. And he's gone to tell, one of the royal members of family, one maybe his dad, and his dad's turned around and said something like, never complain, never explain. And he's gone, but daddy, never complain, never explain. He's like, oh, you can see he hates this. This has been the thing that's been thrown at him so many times that he just can't stand the very thought of that motto.
Yeah, so Harry, according to the body language experts, Harry showed 2 twitches of contempt. And if you follow, body language at all, contempt is huge. That's a big one. That's like when it's like beyond angry, as it's explained in other videos by other body language experts. It's like if someone's angry, that's okay. You're on an even playing field. There's still opportunity to work things out. But when you get to this twitch of contempt that he does, that's something that there's no coming back from. Like there's no way of working things out at this point. It's beyond repair. It's it's not he's the hatred is so strong it's like murderous. I mean, I'm not claiming that he wants to murder them, although I have seen some things in Prince William's reading. But his hatred for this expression um is irrational. It's like very
There's been which
watch his cheek right here.
suppose lots of people know now.
But the motto.
There was a motto.
There it is. 1, 2. You see that? That's like a real subtle. It's kind of more subtle kind of complaint. No, that was contempt. I mean, but when you put it in slow motion, you can see how his left side of his face, right before he says never complain, right after he says motto, there's a motto, my family motto, and that twitch happens. like, there's an expression I swear lots of people know now. I think we knew this expression, but there he goes. 1, 2. You see that? You see that kind of? It looks like he's munching something. It looks like he's like a squirrel and he has an acorn in his left cheek and he's kind of munching on it. So when only one side of the mouth does that, it goes back and up like that. That is just contempt. I mean, it's contempt at it, but it's beyond furious. It's like he feels above, and that this motto is like it should just be destroyed and everything to, you know what I mean? He went, so I was talking about the motto, not his family. So if he could murder the motto, never complain, never explain, I'm sure he hates hearing that. His hatred for hearing that cannot be understated. Okay. So you know this now. So he hates this expression, never complain, never explain. And as one of the body language experts says, well, he's probably heard it his whole life. Everybody's saying never complain, never explain. And he's like, that's probably why he hates it so much. He like, grew up hearing it. People shut him down and shut him up with it. So now coincidentally, the other day, I passed by this article in Psychology Today, which is a prominent psychology magazine. This came out on February 11th, 2023. So this just came out, the top news story. I was like, oh, what's this about? And so he sums up Harry's whole book. So he actually sat through or read this book, The Psychologist. I'll tell you, the psychologists and psychiatrists are going to have a field day with Harry's book, because it's just so creepy and bizarre to us. But for them, they're like, ooh, what's this? Yeah. So, anyways, he basically broke down Harry's book. He calls him a whiner. I'm not going to read the whole article to you, but he said a typology of Harry's whining. Harry's disappointments, annoyances, and hatreds. So he divides all of Harry's book into the disappointments, the annoyances. So and he goes through it. He's like, is whining, basically. So he said the 3 categories: disappointments, things that are regrettable; annoyances, things that irritate him; and hatred, his blazing anger. She said disappointments mainly involve Harry's father and grandmother, annoyances mainly involve his brother, and the hatreds mainly involve the tabloids. And the expression never complain, never explain. So he broke down the principal targets of Harry's disappointments are his father, King Charles, and his grandmother, the late Queen. These mainly touch upon their inability to express affection or to deviate from convention and rituals. The complaints here are relatively mild and involve a great deal of sympathy for the disappointer. Due to the generally positive nature of the relationship and an understanding of the life circumstances, upbringing, and social context, that made it difficult for him to behave otherwise. So the first point was Charles had trouble communicating, trouble listening, trouble being intimate face to face. Instead, when Charles wanted to express affection or pride for Harry, he would do it in a letter, place it on his pillow. Harry wished his father would have shown him his love for him more directly and expressed mild sadness at Charles' inability to do so. Next point, after the death of his mother, Princess Diana, Harry experienced the lack of stability, the lack of warmth and love in the home. Harry expressed disappointment that his dad's relationship with Camilla was diverting him from his kids at the time when they really needed him, or from him and William, in other words. The Queen is generally exempt from Harry's whines, except when she is described as a slave to tradition, unwilling to deviate from counsel provided by her conservative advisors. An example which Harry considered ridiculous was when she refused to allow his brother to keep his beard or wear his own regimental uniform when he married Kate because they violated protocol. Then he goes through the annoyances. William was described as unsympathetic to Harry's emotional struggles, such as when he laughed at Harry sweating profusely after having a panic attack while delivering a speech. Well, of course, a sibling brother is going to chide you about that, right? When Harry first joined his older brother at Eton, his feelings were hurt when Willie told me to pretend I didn't know him. When Harry started what became the Invictus Games, he thought he could count on a £500,000 seed grant from the Royal Foundation, controlled by William and himself. He was startled when his brother objected, claiming it would use up too much money. What was going on here, I wondered. Then I realized, my God, sibling rivalry. I put a hand over my eye. Had we not got past this yet? He's claiming Williams. Oh, yeah. So he thinks William's terribly jealous of him, the Invictus. Ah. Next, okay, here's where his hatreds come in. So these are the hatreds, is what he really has contempt for, what he really causes him to get murderous. And I was kind of surprised at this because I didn't realize that there was this particular journalist that he really hates named Rebecca Brooks. Now, this writer, the psychologist, found out what her name was because he didn't put her name as it is in the book. He used a similar name, but he was able to figure it out. Said Rebecca Brooks, the editor of the biggest tabloid, is described thusly, quote, loathsome toad, I gathered. Everyone who knew her was in full agreement that she was an infected pustule on the arse of humanity, plus a shit excuse for a journalist. Harry wrote this in his book. He mostly refuses to use the names of people he hates, so he calls her Rehabber Cooks. Next, Harry had contempt for some of the PR people who worked for the Queen or for Charles and Camilla. He hated two assistants he referred to as the Bee and the Wasp. He, he characterized them as, quote, I disliked these men and they didn't have any use for me. They considered me irrelevant at best, stupid at worst. Deep down, I feared that each man felt himself to be the one true monarch, that each was taking advantage of a queen in her 90s, enjoying his influential position while merely appearing to serve. So that may be what he was referring to at one point when he said he was going to protect the queen, right? Remember, people were like, what are you talking about? You're living in California. How are you going to protect the queen? Next, he accuses Camilla of being cozy with the tabloid editors whom she entertained at Clarence House. So he says, using them to advance her campaign to become queen consort, according to Harry, in part by having an assistant plant stories critical of Harry and William. It may be too strong to say he hates Camilla, but he comes pretty close. And I find this interesting because we do know that Jeremy Clarkson, who's been under relentless attack, as well as Piers Morgan, both recently had a luncheon, not at Clarence House, but nearby with Camilla, Queen Camilla. So obviously, that probably was the trigger for them to go after Jeremy Clarkson. Because now Harry has in his book on page 361 how much he hates how he thinks Camilla cozies up to the tabloids to make him and his brother look bad. Or I'm sure he thinks him and Meghan look bad. So I think they blame Camilla for all their negative publicity that they're getting or negative pushback instead of taking responsibility for all the lies they've told. But anyways, you see how he's complain. My father is not affectionate enough. My brother was mean to me. Camilla's an evil witch with the tabloids. And the family motto is never complain, never explain. But that's exactly what he did in his book. He complained and complained and complained and complained. And I can't even believe he wrote this about this journalist. I mean, because now Rebecca Brooks is going to be like put on a pedestal by everyone. They're going to be like, "Good, go you! I'm so glad you piss off Prince Harry." She's going to be invited to so many parties now, right? Unless they start doing climate lockdowns, try to tie everybody up and mask them up and isolate them again, as I'm sure they want to do. But anyways, it does look like, wow. I mean, he actually called her a pustule on the arse of humanity, and I think this is all about, from what I gathered, the little bit of searching I did, was that she tapped into his phone when he was a teenager. Him and William, like I guess, eavesdropped on their phones, and they did that. That's exact similar thing that was done to his mother back in the '90s. So I think that's why he's so angry at her. That's all I can think of. I don't know the story here. If you know the backstory, let me know. But he really, for him to hate her and to attack her in his book. So again, complaining and explaining his attacks. That's what this whole book is about. So yeah. Isn't that interesting? And a psychologist, psychiatrist having a field day with it. But like we know, much of the book is just flat out lies and misrememberings. And like Harry said, my truth is just as good as the objective truth. So he's doing the woke, however he feels, his lived experience. That's the truth as far as he's concerned. And we all know how Harry and Meghan, their truth, recollections vary considerably with Harry and Meghan's truth and the rest of the world's truth. And in the end, he just looks like a spoiled brat, complaining, complaining, complaining. And of course, everyone else in the world who suffers a lot more than him just made him look even worse in the public eye. But of course, he'll probably end up blaming Camilla or something for it. So let's take a look at Harry and his complaining and explaining book here. I'm using Gilded Tarot. So let's take a look here. I've shuffled the cards. How's it go? Why did he really come out here with complaining, and what's he expecting, and how has he been affected by the reaction from the public since this book came out? What does he like? What does he not like about it? And how will this book affect him in the long term? Let's find out. I've shuffled the cards. I'm going to split the deck. Let's see. Prince Harry and his wine fest. A lot of people just don't want to listen to the book or can bear listening to it. I mean, we have our own problems. We don't need Harry's problems on top of the more serious problems in the world. So, which I would talk more about, but YouTube would like give me a strike. So I'm really limited to Harry and Meghan and the royal family. But anyways, that's an aside. So let's look at it. General attitude, Knight of Wands. So he was feeling very proud. This was his moment to shine and to attack. Right? Again, a knight, a fighter, taking action, setting off those volcanoes there with his complaints. He was ready to erupt. He was like a volcano that was waiting to erupt. And when his book came out, finally his volcano could erupt out there. And he could do all the complaining and explaining to his heart's content. And boy, did he ever. I mean, his book comes across like someone who was not allowed to complain all his life, and suddenly he could just let it all out. But again, unfortunately, I think it kind of backfired a bit. But this was his moment to shine, right? Moment to attack, finally get back, get even, get heard. And what's the environment of it? Two of Wands reversed. So Two of Wands, like you're thinking and why you did what you did with your plans and sort of pushing it out there, forcing it out there. And I don't think he really thought long term about the repercussions of how this may be interpreted. I think the part of the book was to explain, as we know, why he left the royal family with Meghan, and he admitted himself in an interview that the book was to explain that Meghan didn't cause the problems with his brother. The problems were already there. So part of it, of course, is to make Meghan look good, but also to explain why he left and to complain, complain, complain. I got Eight of Pentacles because this is just his job. This is his work. This is what he did all day. He sat around talking to his ghostwriter. I mean, he didn't even write it. Let's face it. He had an expert ghostwriter, J.R. Moring, who's disappeared off the planet. I don't think, I mean, as far as I can see, I didn't see him anywhere giving interviews. It was all Harry. Maybe he just got overshadowed by Harry. I don't know. But this was definitely Prince Harry's big time to shine. And he was going to take it. This was his time to do what he wanted to do in the media, Wands and Wands. Meghan stepped back into the shadows for a little bit. So that's the basis of why he did this. Nine of Pentacles. Did it for the money, did it for the Duchess of Sussex over here saying, Harry, H, oh no, excuse me, H, you better get that money and bring it back. You go over there and squawk. See, that's Meghan holding Harry. He's the little bird there. She's the parrot. She's like, talk, bird. You go talk and you bring back the money because Mama needs a new mansion and new this and that, or I'm going to leave you for Getty. I got a future in politics. I want to be president of the United States, says Meghan. I mean, she seriously has plans to be the president of the United States. So, wow. So he did it for the money. He did it for Meghan and etc. So, and to get revenge, though, I think the revenge and media spotlight, what really triggered him to complain, complain, complain. Six of Pentacles, again with the money. He's dancing for his supper here. So offered a lot of money for this book. Needs the money, coins and coins. Yeah. But of course, he wanted to do it as well. I mean, this was partly his attack, his revenge, but also partly he only did it when Meghan gave him permission to do it, of course. He first had to be the bench and then the Netflix, and then he was allowed to release his book, you know. So everything revolved around Megan, of course, but he was gearing to do this, gearing to go out and attack. And I think Megan was like the what do you call it, a falconess? You know, if you want to look at him as a falcon bird, I think it's supposed to be like a falcon bird. And Megan sends him out to fly. He flies to the sky and then returns to her arm, right? Megan's always holding him by his arm. Harry, as we know, is like Megan's pet in many ways. And he's also a bitter little boy who is still hurt that daddy didn't hug him when he told him about his mother's passing. So, very bizarre, very bizarre. Needs a lot of therapy still. He's probably not, because people have pointed out he has not gotten good therapy. Whatever therapy he's getting, he needs a different therapist. And so that's why I find it interesting that these psychologists are really interested in his book. I don't think that's a good sign. If you write a book and these psychologists, Psychology Today is fascinated with it. Of course, they're not going to say anything publicly, but behind closed doors, I don't know what the psychologists are saying about Harry. I'm sure they're saying lots of interesting things, like the body language experts. So, what was Harry expecting from this book? Oh, there we go. King of Cups, right? This book was written for King Charles and Prince William, naturally. And it was to show them that he's just as good, if not better than them. And how dare they treat him like that? They obviously need a kick in the pants, a kick in the media, because he knows, right? Fighting with them one on one doesn't work. He's not respected. So Harry knew the way to get revenge, as Meghan knows all too well with her weaponized PR and Harry's weaponized PR, is to go to the media. He wants to get revenge on his father and brother. The way to do it is to call Tom Bradbury and say, I need to listen. I need you to listen to me. I have something to say. So yeah, Megan said nobody asked if she's okay, and my father didn't hug me. So there you have it. I mean, they sound like 6-year-olds. I mean, they both seem to be still, what's the word for it? They're stuck in childhood. So anyways, what did Harry not like? Okay, so now I'm going to look at the reaction of the public to his book. And like I said, I think it backfired because everyone's looking at him like this privileged, spoiled brat complaining, whining and complaining about their lives. Kind of like some of these lefties out there. I heard a lot of people in BLM and Antifa. They're very wealthy, lefty. This Antifa group in Atlanta, if you heard, that got arrested and charged, which is very rare to happen in the U.S. these days. I mean, Antifa usually gets away with whatever they want. It turns out one of the people there was the daughter of I think, a senator. So very wealthy brats. But anyways, I digress. They can be the most worst complainers and whiners, right? Anyway, so what did Harry not like about people's reaction to his book? And I got Page of Coins reversed. So he doesn't like that people are complaining that number one, he's a liar, because Pages it is about information, and reversed is bad information, inaccurate information. Nobody wants to hear their truth. They want to hear the truth. And I also get that. So he doesn't like the comments. He doesn't like that people do not like his information or ridiculing it, reacting. And also think that he's acting like a little boy. I see as well. People think he's being very mature and controlled by Meghan. Because at the bottom of it all, we've got the Duchess of Sussex here controlling the bird, and you've got this little boy and so that's the way he realizes that people see him that way, and so he doesn't like that as well. And of course, people are, of course, rightfully accusing him of doing this book for the money, which he is with Six of Coins and Nine of Coins. He's absolutely doing this to get revenge, but also for the money. So what does he like about? But he's not too bothered. I mean, he does read and listen and absorb people's comments about his book. I'm sure Megan does. But what does he like about it? People's reaction to his book. Oh, look at that. So this tells me that his intention was to upset people and disturb them. He purposely wrote this book to be as disturbing and shocking and horrific and evil. I mean, he wanted to horrify people. I mean, this is a card of causing pain and suffering, and he wanted his book to be insufferable. He wanted to be insufferable. He wanted you to listen to it and go, "Oh my God, that's so awful. I can't even listen to it." He wanted that. He wanted his book to be so bad and so whiny that you wouldn't even want to listen to it. This was absolutely intentional. I mean, I know most people are going to think it's just badly written, or it's not really badly written because it was written by an expert, right? Somebody who's a very accomplished writer. But the material is just so horrible and horrifying. He comes across in his recordings like a psychopath, like a criminally insane person, like a monster. And that's what he wanted. He wants you to think he's a monster. He wants you, I think he is a monster personally. And he wants you to think that. He wants you to be turned off to it and horrify people. He wanted to horrify people. That was absolutely intentional. All the stories he told about the Elizabeth Arden cream and his Todger and all that he wanted, and his mother, and bring it all together. He knew what he was doing. He did that. He wanted to disturb people, disturbing people, excessively so. But he's doing it secretively as well because he's not going to admit to that. And he doesn't say that outwardly that he likes to horrify people. But I think he does. He loves horrifying you and disgusting you. So he wanted to disturb and disgust people. That was his intention for the public. He liked that. He liked that people are like, oh my God. He liked that. Because, if people, I think from his perspective, if you liked reading it, you would be going through it and talking about it more. But if you're so horrified listening to it and so bored by it, I think he also purposely made it boring as well so that you wouldn't want to listen to it. Because really, his book is about complaining to his father and brother and complaining for the sake of complaining to get revenge on them and to get their attention. And not, a little bit of revenge. He made up that fight about falling on a dog bowl or whatever. I mean, just really harmless stuff at the end of the day. But because he doesn't want to give out gossip. He hates tabloids, right? So how does he see the public? Or how is he affected? How does he see the public? Two of coins again. Money, money, money. Buy my book. And I was hearing on some other channel. I can't remember which one, but she was saying that um, who was it again? She's saying her daughter. They were giving away the book for free, right? Harry's book, download for free, and it said free download. You can download. And her daughter did it, and then they turned around and charged $14 later, right? So all Harry sees us as is a way to get money. He's putting in a performance. This is a card of putting on a performance. This is literally singing for his supper here. So that's how he sees people. He couldn't care less what people think. He's just doing a dance for his supper, putting on a little performance, and he's just doing it for the money. It's like, all right, I did a dance, give me money. I did another dance, give me some more money. So he's money from the public, but also money from the advertisers and the Netflixes and the etc. So he sees the public as a way for him to make money. So how are things going to go? So I'm getting a lot of coins here, obviously, for the money, for the grub. Shock and horrify. Couldn't care less what people think. In the end of the day, you're just a way for him to make some money. That's all you are. He couldn't really care about anything. I'm getting no cups here except for his brother and father, who he was trying to upset with the media. Um, so this wasn't like a real opening up of, I have to get this off my chest. This was a book of an attack. Harry was not opening his heart and soul and saying, this is what I've been going through. This is why I had to escape the palace. That's all BS. This is all, I mean, coins, 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 coins. I mean, this whole reading is coins. Doing it for the money, doing it so I can stay away from my family because I hate them because they don't listen to me and don't respect me. And Megan says that we can do much better. So, what's going to happen in the near future? How things are going to go? Oh, oh yeah. So I'm seeing judgment here. So, of course, he does have that deposition with Samantha, and I see some huge changes coming up in the near future because of this book. I think this book's partly why the royal family is not taking any chances with him going forward. Things are going to be a whole new, and I think that William and Charles are going to be initiating some new judgments here, either legal or with regards to the royal family and his status in the royal family and what he can and can't do and what he can and can't have, etc. So there's going to be some new, we got the slimming down of the monarchy type actions or something like that. So I do see a new start here a new, a huge change. This book, is going to lead to him having to change the way things are, the way his life is with his family, and he's going to be judged by them as well. They're going to have a sit down, no doubt. But not only the family, of course, but the whole the firm, the institution's going to have quite a few things to say. And in the long term, how will this book help him or not? The Fool. Wow. So you know what? In the long term, I was wondering if he was going to, how he's going to feel. Like, he's going to look back and regret this book. But I don't think he will. I don't think he does, and I don't think he will. I think that this book was he was the first to do it. The Fool's like the first card, and he's acting like a fool. He's going to act like a fool going forward. He's trying to be the victim here, of course. They just love these super wealthy victims. Poor them, such victims. He feels like he broke new ground here, and he just did it in a great way, and he just thinks that it changed his life for the better in many ways. They got to take him more seriously because he's a weapon now, right? So they're not dismissing him and speaking down to him so much. They're this is a war, and they're taking him more seriously, which is what he wanted all along with the royal family. And I do think that this is he's glad that he did this, and he will be. He knows it's shocking to people and disturbing, but he feels like he has the last laugh. He knows that everybody thinks he's just a big fool, but he's having the last laugh because he's playing the fool many times, and he's not. He knew exactly what he was doing and did it intentionally. So he's like, okay, you all think I'm so dumb here. So I do think that there was a lot of manipulation in this book, and he's going to act like he's sincere, but in reality, he's a very angry person, and he's with a very angry, greedy woman, and he just thinks that they're such geniuses doing what they're doing, and doing something new and destructive, and using his status as like the court jester, as the fool, and be using it as a weapon, and doing it using the public eye with Meghan, by his side, helping him out with every little thing to gain more power over Charles and William and the royal family, the firm, and try to levitate up there, as a force to be reckoned with. Right, some new possibilities. So I think that now I don't think he is going to ever regret writing this book. I think it's doing just what he wanted it to do. He's making millions of dollars. He's leveraging his stories of the royal family. It's like a shot over the bow. Like he said, he has 400 more pages. He could publish another book if he wanted. So it's sort of like, this is just the beginning. If you don't do what I want, kind of a deal. So I do think it's going to be some big changes here, some major decisions working in his favor. So at the end of the day, I think he's going to be glad he wrote this. Yeah. Yeah. All for the money, and not only money from Netflix and whatnot, but money from the royal family, you know? So he's going to get what he wants. And that's what it's all about. Money, money, money. Money from, he wants what William has, right? Is that big complaint? He wants what William has. So he's probably going to get more than he would have had he not written the book. And that's very important to him. He wants that money and that land and that inheritance that him and Meghan feel they deserve. So yeah, so that's what I see here. So I hope you enjoyed this. Because like I said, I think most of the book at the end of the day is just him complaining and embarrassing them by complaining, and the rest are just all lies. That really don't amount to much. But he's, like he said, if they don't do what he wants, the next book may come out with more true stories, real stories. So yeah. So that's what I have for you today. So I hope you enjoyed this. If so, please like and subscribe. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye bye.